All right, the bottom left in the blue, he is the king, the man that they wish to take on down. It's Top. Upper right in the red, going for a bit of a dog build early on. It's Mixu. Of course it is. Well, it's Mixu. I spoiled it. I said the name. What have I done, sweet Jesus? What have I done? But anyways, we got the scout here. It's going to get figured out very quickly exactly what's happening. So Top is aware that, yes, there are dogs. In fact, it's going to be dogs versus dogs because we are into dog fighting here in this game of Stormgate, and that is not worrisome whatsoever. I'm not going to make a Michael Vick joke. Don't worry. But anyways, this does get really awkward, right? So you're getting the upgrades on the scouts. Scouts do kill each other very quickly. They also knock down a lot of the creep camps on the map. But you don't really want to commit to that because that's damage that your scouts will take, which is always a little bit awkward because, again, it's kind of like a Ling Bane fight almost, except you don't have Lings, you don't have Banes, you just have scouts. But the point is that you don't want to take any extra damage on your scouts early on. ESL? Huh? Attico, you refresh yourself because this is not ESL. I have changed the stream title. Has Kiwian changed his name back to Top? Legendary asks. Yes, he has, in part because he said, well, I'm tired of Tastosis getting my name wrong, so I'm not even trying. But notice what Top is doing here. He's got these dogs in the middle of the map, and watching them run around, they're not, the pathing isn't quite there. It's gonna get there, but for right now, they kind of all turn in unison, which it looks just a little bit funky. It's like ships, right? They really look like sailing ships in some ancient sea battle, except they are cyberkinetic dogs. And that's how that works. Regardless, Kiwian has been able to force Mixu back into his own base just a little bit. And that does mean that now maybe he can start to go and take some of the resource camps down, but again, you got to be careful. You do not want to take any damage that you don't have to. Oh, that's a great surround from Kiwi. He's going to knock so many of these scouts down so quickly. And we talked about what you got to do to make sure that you have this opportunity to lock your opponent back home, to get some creep camps, whatever it is. Knocking that down is incredibly impactful. Now with the Bobs here, they're overcharged for about 20 seconds. That does mean that they're not going to take a ton of damage. Oh, there's an ESL logo on screen. I am bad. Let's fix that. There we go, we're fixed. But notice these 4 Bobs are doing such a nice job of zoning things out, but Kiwian also, he does have this opportunity for surround, but he's on top of the repair-o-matic as well, so these Bobs are staying alive, these scouts are staying alive, maybe just a little bit better. The problem is the damage is overwhelming, and yeah, you can repair it, but it's all dying. It's all going straight to hell here. And at this point, Mixu is kind of dead, our king. Well, he's going to escape the guillotine here for game number 1. He will not be dragged into the streets, paraded around to the barricade. In fact, well, it's Mixu. He got scouted out, got caught out early on, lost those scouts, lost the Bobs now. I do like the micro here with the repair-o-matic, putting the low Bobs in so they all get repaired. And it's taken a moment to kill these. It's taken a little bit of time to knock things down, but there's only 1 overcharge available. Bobs can run into the main base. I mean, scouts pop out, but they just die. And I want to say Kiwian is on, yeah, he's on, look at that. He's on triple barracks. He's scavenged the biokinetics lab. He is just, he's all in on this, and I think that's a great decision. Again, considering the amount of damage that he has done, the fact that Mixu is likely never going to be able to stabilize. Mixu does sell that habitat. That's pretty nice, but now he's going to be pretty supply blocked. And this repair-o-matic is the only thing that is keeping him, I'm not going to say alive, but not dead here in this game number 1. Yeah, at this point, there's nothing. Mixu is trying. He is trying, but he is very much not succeeding. So game 1 is going to go the way of Mixu, but remember, this is all about, can you take down 4 maps from Kiwian? Upper right in the red, his dogs didn't quite do what they were supposed to. Oh, goodness me, I am sorry. His bombs didn't, or his dogs didn't do quite what they wanted to do. Regardless, in the upper right, in the red, down a game. Mixu. Upper left as both players go scouting around to see what types of resource flowers they can find. In the blue, up 1, he's our king. Kiwian. Or Top. Or whoever you want to call. Ghostbusters? Sure. We're going to call him Ghostbusters. That being said, we got our nice quick barracks going down. Biokinetics lab going to get started for Mixu just a little bit faster. In fact, looks like Top is going to play a very different build in game number 2. He's walling off the natural, which tells us likely not scouts, likely not a dog rush, just not going to be worth it here. Again, you wall off like this, and this is going to be most likely, pay attention, of course, to how much Therium gets mined, but my guess says this is going to be something closer to like a Hornet rush, which is a pretty cool idea. It certainly does very well against a bunch of scouts because scouts do not shoot up, and that's kind of all you need to know about it, really. So for now, the scout's going to see multiple scouts. Top is well aware what's happening, but we're not seeing a ton of Therium get mined. It's So this is not a map that you can go in and take your natural on super easily, not against the scout rush. You do have to be careful. So this is getting walled off. Kiwian is giving away the entire map. In terms of creep camps, he's just not going to have access to those. But what I'm curious about, and what I'm not sure about necessarily, is where Kiwian is going with this. Now, adding in a bunch of Lancers to try to go and fight the scouts is a pretty interesting idea, if you think about it, right? Lancers do not take bonus damage from scouts. They're not light units. They are very tanky, 240 damage. Scouts do not do a ton. As we take a look at the scouts here, you know, scouts do 8 damage. That's 5 damage to a Lancer. You do the math on that, and it is very, very, very small. And that's going to get scattered out right now as 3 Lancers run onto the other side of the map. Yes, Top versus Percival is in fact going to be hype later on Elf Stormgate, assuming we get there. Who knows? Maybe our kings do things. Maybe our king gets slain pretty early. Feels Benjamin, I'm assuming that you are correct on this, just because it can't really be. Well, it's a lot of Therium. Maybe I'm not crazy, but for now, 3 Lancers are going to find their way into the Luminite line, and the scouts are on the map. They're not really in a position to defend. Sim City is going to be pretty nice, and actually, this was something that Mixu figured out. So he does have a Lancer on the way of his own. He's not going to have a bunch of scouts fighting against a bunch of units that don't die to scouts, which is a pretty solid idea. So that's what we're looking at right now. All the creep camps, of course, will get taken down by these scouts. They do tons of damage to them. They knock them down. I mean, they swarm this down very, very quickly. And there's our expansion going down. All right. Cyberkinetic, or I want to keep calling it the cyber. It's not a StarCraft thing. Right, our biokinetics lab going down, which should be for exo upgrades very quickly. He might take a pit stop for Lancers, and he is building a lot of Lancers, but the problem is, right, you get exos just kind of out-tech Lancers for the most part. So we're going to really have to pay attention to that. But unfortunately, Snowdrop, it's likely not going to be a Vulcan all-in. That is my guess. In fact, yeah, he just mined just enough to start getting the, I guess, the Lancer upgrade. So Top, the man who showed us that parting could lose by building Lancers, he's building Lancers against a Vanguard player and trying to get into that kinetic redirection very quickly and getting some damage done on that perspective. So for now, he's got his natural mining just a little bit faster, 6 out of 12. No mining on this natural just yet. He's got all these Lancers. He's got a couple more, but, you know, remember, Lancers versus Lancers don't do a ton of damage. Not for the moment. But even still, right, with the repair-o-matic here, all these scouts are going to get repaired up. It's not likely that Kiwian gets a ton of damage done from this. So he's taken his natural. It's a little bit slower. Or it's a little bit faster. He didn't really get any of the creep camps on the map. There are a couple that are... I'm actually really surprised that we didn't see Mixu try to go and steal Kiwian's camps. Because, like, that... Oh. Wait. Is this a scout switch? Did he just go... Did he mine enough Therium just for the scout upgrades, and this is a big scout switch? If so, that is super cool coming out of Kiwian. Unfortunately, I can't really tell. It's going to tell me that he has Beryllium Claws and Gear Grind regardless on the overlay, so I can't really tell whether that happened or not. But that is super cool coming out of Kiwian if that's what it was, and it looks like more scouts are being made. So yeah, this is like a 4-barrack scout all-in off the Lancers. This is super cool. I don't know how well that's going to work out necessarily, but Kiwian has pulled the wool over Mixu's eyes. He forced a transition where maybe he didn't need to make one happen. And the army's on the map here, but Kiwian doesn't know about it. He scanned up on the top side. He howled away and saw what was happening. Albino Stormgate, this is live on a 15-second delay. There is that, but okay. Third base is now done. The scouts are going to look for the engage. Lancers, just a couple more of them. And the scouts, again, ships in the night here looking for an angle. And then they're going to try to find out. Remember, these scouts here, as apparently they they disrupt space-time around them for whatever's happening there. They have a little bit more veterancy, so there is that. They have a nice bit of SimCity, but the Lancers are winning the fight. The Scouts are not losing the fight. And again, the reinforcement lines coming in here. The Scouts that were hidden by Kiwian are doing so very much. Now, there is an overcharge, and that will try to buy a little bit more time as the Scouts fight against Scouts. It's really an awkward fight. The trick is these Lancers are just not dying. Kiwian kiting away against the Scouts that continue to get rallied across by his opponent, or rallied in by his opponent. And this all in from Kiwian pulled the wool over Mixu's eyes in a way that is oh so very surprising. Now, the game's not over, not necessarily, but there are Scouts in the main base, and they're getting a ton of damage done here. So Mixu's not technically dead, but he's not alive either. He has taken a ton of damage off this fight. He is losing his, he's losing his army units all over the place. The reinforcing Scouts are kind of insane. This is just such a wild build. I don't, maybe I don't play Vanguard, so maybe I'm just out of date. But this is the first time I've seen this one. This is super cool, right? You go and you say, look, it's a Lancer expand. That's fine. I'm gonna go into mid game and I'm gonna get Exos or Hornets, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. And then let me build about 30,000 Scouts and run into your main base, and you're just not going to be ready for it whatsoever, and it's going to be really rough, which is, again, super cool. So the Lancers in the main base will fall. Yes, there's a Bob overcharge at the natural that's buying some time as the Scouts slowly deal with this. I love how as the Scouts run, by the way, through the trees, they distort the reality of space-time in a way that is very surprising. I don't really know how that works, but regardless, yeah, Mixu's dead. He's trying really hard, but it's just snowballed at this point. He's got units in every side of his base. Static defense is nice, but it's not enough. So what do we got right now? We have, yeah, Mixu's gonna tap out. Kiwian keeps all times on his crown. He keeps the crown for at least our first series. 2-0.